Hi and welcome back to another game of Steel Division. Before we begin, I just want to briefly go over the latest patch note, and to do that I'm going to bring up this T26E light tank. You can see it's got a 45mm cannon and it now has a range of 1250. So every tank and cannon used to have a max range of 2000. That meant that if a unit's 2000 meters away, you could begin to engage it. They've now made it a little bit more historically accurate, where if you've got a 45mm cannon, then you're going to be hitting at 1250. If you've got a more stronger 85mm cannon, then you're going to be hitting at 1750. So every tank is going to have a different range size based on its cannon size, and that's going to open up a new dynamic to the game where a light tank can no longer just start shooting at you from max range. It's going to actually have to try to close that gap. Another thing is when you do reach that max range, so for the light tank, once it begins shooting at 1250, it's actually going to be a little bit more accurate than usual. So they've kind of replaced range with accuracy as well. You can then also put a move on called efficient shot, which will then increase your accuracy and wait for a more better time to hit with a penetrating shot. So a lot of new dynamics that they're adding. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the game. So I am bringing up a Finnish armoured group, and we're going up against a Russian armoured group. This is on a Finnish map. These guys actually did battle one another, and they're both from the DLC A Fate for Finland. So we're going to start now. Hide the panel. One of the interesting things about Finland is their roster of tanks is a mixed variety of Soviet and German. So you'll have these T26E light tanks, which will make up the bulk of your force, and then you can also bring up some T-34 76s, some T-34 85s, some KV heavy tanks, and some Panzer IVs and Stugs. In Phase A, majority of those tanks are coming in. You can't bring them in Phase B or C, and they only have a limited of like 2 to 4 tanks with each. So you have to be pretty careful with the way that you bring up your armor. You can't just kind of throw it there, because once they're gone, they're gone. So on this left side, we're just bringing up 4 infantry units and a AT gun. One of my guys, for whatever reason, when I went to unload him, his pathing got set all the way to over here. So he's actually running straight into the enemy, which was a bit unfortunate. I did notice it, but it was a little bit too late. I think about here I unload them. We also set up an AT gun and a recon vehicle to defend this pathway here. Any armor coming down here or infantry moving out of these forests, I'm going to run into those. We've got a mortar for support. I wanted to lay some smoke down here or here if need be. While our infantry and tanks are going to push up this cliffside and try to take this flag from them. We had an MG set up as well in this forest. I was hoping that it would be able to provide supporting cover for our infantry moving up, but as you'll soon find out, it didn't really play out that way. Our light tanks do spot this BA-10M and T-34 76. And we do manage to take out the recon vehicle, and we're just going to lay down some smoke and start to push our infantry up. The infantry for the Finnish is quite interesting. Instead of having your regular riflemen with a bunch of long-range weapons and light machine guns, they've actually got a bunch of close-range weapons with some Molotov cocktails and Panzer IVs. And then these other units have the close-range Soviet weapons with an AT gun and a TNT. So they're very good at close combat, but not too good when they've got this range disadvantage. So you can see these Strokey with their dual DP-28s just unloading on our guys. We have no light machine gun to fire back. That's where this guy was meant to come in handy, but I don't know whether it's just smoke or just this cliffside, but I can't actually get enough range to hit them. And my tanks are just too slow to catch up to provide any armor support. So unfortunately these guys are just left to be decimated by that squad. I do bring up a JU-87 dive bomber. And we destroy the Strokey. It was unfortunate that that smoke screen just had that one line of fire to hit our guys. And this guy's very badly wounded as well. One squad did make it though, so we do capture the flag. And we're just waiting for our armor to finally catch up. As soon as we spotted that flame tank, we quickly jumped out after hitting the T-34. And we do spot another T-34. And another Panssaridivisioona knocks it out. So this squad actually has 3 T-34s under its belt, but with only one single Panssaridivisioona left. Just in time though, because we do have these light tanks now crawling up the hill. Strokey unload here onto the middle of this road, but they are close enough that we can start engaging them. And you'll get to see where their close range weapons actually shine as they pick apart that Strokey unit. The light tank knocks out that T-34, but then it's finished off that by that BA-10M. A little bit of tit for tat there between these light tanks and recon vehicles. And as is, light tank tends to roll closer and closer, we're getting more in range for that Panssaridivisioona. And there it is. One of the things I noticed is with these units, the Panssaridivisioona doesn't really have an animation. In most of the other battle groups, when your Panssaridivisioona shoots, you can actually see the rocket hit and it kind of makes a noise. So I thought that was a little bit odd. Not too much has happened over here. We've just kind of been hitting whatever gets in our way. It's mainly been infantry here, no real army, can't see any exploded vehicles. And we're bringing up some T-34s, or as the Finnish call them, the Sotka 76. And over here, we've brought up a bunch of light tanks. We've also got the KV heavy tank, or as the Finnish call it, they're climbing. See a bit on them. You can see they've got the Axis symbol there. some light tanks and a medium tank just pushing up here. We're finally moving that guy from back in this housing to up here. And we also brought up a couple of recon vehicles before we start making any further ground. Got some flat cannons and infantry now pushing up. We want to take control of this flag now. Our AT gun's taking a lot of fire from these strokey, and it's actually run out of HE shells, so I can't even fire back. Luckily we do have these tanks to back them up. But it does look like we're going to lose them. Over here we've got a KHT moving up. We do spot that and bring in our JU-87 for another bombing run. T-34 also moving on. And we've actually run out of Panssaridivisioona shells. We managed to take out the flame tank. I think the T-34 is still... Yep. Don't think it spotted us, so... It's actually just going to keep on rolling down the hill. Over here though, we did manage to knock out those strokey, and we're now just pushing forward. Our light tank does spot the medium tank. And knocks it out. Also got this SU-76 assault gun. And knocked that out as well. Just a couple of good kills. And we've now secured this flag, just barely. As we get closer, we do spot a lot of armoured units just sitting at the back of that forest there. We're just trying to pull this guy back. We're actually bringing up one of our AT incendiary round planes. And with that, we've dealt with their armour. There must still be some other units hidden in here though, because the flag hasn't moved. Or they might even have someone in this forest here. But with that, we're moving up. We've also brought up these dual sniper recon units. So they've got exceptional stealth with very high optics, which I thought was a pretty interesting unit. Over here, we're finally bringing up some reinforcements. These guys come in phase B, so we've actually got a light machine gun this time with a DP-28, some anti-tank grenades, a bunch of Moser Knights, and PPSH. And we've kind of just like set up a bit of a back line here. Got a commander. I haven't unloaded him yet though. There's not really many leaders that are within range to even make much use of him yet. We've set up a light tank and a recon vehicle, along with a T-34 and a T-26. But they do have quite a bit of armor pushing up now. We've also got the KV heavy tank, which can spot them as they get into this range. I'm just going to go on for a couple more bombing runs.
Zurück zum Fliegerhorst.
Like a bunch of armors coming up here. More infantry now moving up, and they've actually managed to retake this flag. Our heavy tank should be fine. It's quite armoured. It's 95 frontal. It only has 75, sorry, 110, so it might be able to, but because of the distance, it should be safe. Incendiary rounds do knock it out though. And it looks like my ally is bringing up some armor to back us up. And we've also got some Panzer IVs rolling up. Or is the Finnish calling the Lonen? And you can see they've got a 1750mm, 1750 meters with the 75mm. Got like a kind of deserty type camo. There we go. So we've got a much stronger hold on this flag now. Same with this one here. We've brought up a leader now, so that everything's getting that little bit of extra bonus. And we've also finally unloaded our commander. See this line here? Indicates that he is just out of range of providing his extra bonus to these units. So you actually have to try to connect your leaders between other leaders. So what I'm doing now is I'm bringing up a Stug leader, and he's going to sit here, give the bonus to these guys, which in turn will then give the bonus to this guy, which you'll soon see. The Stugs also have a pretty cool camo. I'm going to get rid of that leader. They've got these logs on the side of them, so they kind of blend in with the trees. Might also be for providing some heat if they're gonna, or some extra armor maybe. This is actually the Finnish tank. It's not very good at dealing with other armor, but it does have 3 of these DT heavy machine guns. So you can see them here, here, and here. So it's very good at pushing with infantry. Over here, I noticed that my ally started to get overwhelmed, so I'm actually bringing up some air support. I've done a few bombing runs now, and I'm going to start bringing up some infantry to back him up. My ally spotted the remaining units that are in these buildings that were holding the flag, and then just kind of pushed up and is now dealing with them. You can see now as the Stug gets into position, we're now getting that extra bonus for all of these units surrounding my leader here. We're not going to be able to connect over here though. See the range there, so we'd actually need to set a leader up somewhere around here to then push it over to here. So our infantry have just unloaded. We're just trying to retake this forest before we move up onto this ridge. Got an MG coming up. Nice big shot there from the ISU-152. This is a Soviet assault gun. The Finnish can bring up one of those in phase A. A whole bunch more infantry coming up. We just want to try to take this choke point here. You can actually see the enemy starting to bring up the IS-2 heavy tanks. It's got 122mm cannon with max range, and that armoured battle group will be bringing up quite a lot of those in phase C. We do run into a lot of enemy vehicles and infantry. I wasn't expecting them to be so close. But we've cleared out what was in the forest, and so we're just slowly moving up. So their armour out of the way. It's now just up to taking out their infantry. I've brought up these flat cannons to help. But it looks like I noticed they had an AT gun, so I was using my JU-87s to knock that out. Now I'm bringing on the flat cannons. So we managed to stop their push in their tracks and set up a pretty solid defense there. We do need some more armor, so I'm bringing up these T28Es and head to 4. And it looks like I'm just starting to bring my back line up to here as our ally starts to bring more and more armor up. I spotted IS-2 moving up with some recon and infantry. That's not going to have any trouble dealing with my armor, so bring up this JU-87. Doesn't get the kill, but he does fall back. At the same time, I noticed a large group of infantry starting to build up here. All of these guys are close quarter, so they've got their Stormovsky with their 7 PPSHs and a light machine gun with TNT, and they've also got the Autosmasniki with 10 PPSHs and anti-tank grenades. So that's going to be pretty hard to deal with if it does get within range of our guys. So we're dropping down some mortar fire, hitting them with the incendiary shells. I just want to stop that from pushing any further. Spot another IS-2 here. So we're going to try and deal with that with the JU-87. The reason why I mark it here first is so that it kind of swoops around and hits it on the side armor. Brought up a bunch of reinforcements now. We've got some infantry and AT guns. We're going to set them up soon. Guys are under a lot of fire now. We do have our tanks in the back there giving some support. Allies pushed up quite a lot of armor and he's basically secured this area. Just bringing in some air support. Before I make any more ground here, I'm bringing up some recon so that we can try to find out what's actually hidden in these houses. Pushing up. To begin our push. So we managed to secure this flag, and our next step is just to start jumping into these houses and trying to get a nice defensive stronghold here. Also just to clear out the last remaining units of them as we push over into this side of the hill. So we missed the action, but it looks like they did take this hill while we were pushing this hill. Still got that IS-2 just hidden back there, taking shots at our tanks. Luckily, we managed to suppress that infantry unit before it got to throw one of its AT grenades. Our tank was very close. But with that, we've managed to secure this last part of the hill, and we've got quite a lot of units there to make sure that they can't retake it. We've also got a bunch of infantry coming up to set up in these buildings. We're going to take our focus over here again. They've actually moved up a couple of Strelkies, just as we were actually trying to move up some of our Kivaris. That's our heavy bomber coming in. As our infantry are going to start moving up into this forest, we've got our T-34 85mm moving up. Got a bunch of infantry now coming up as well. And we're going to start making that push into this town again. We're just doing some bombing runs. We just want to try to weaken some of the resistance that we think might be in this area. I've also brought up a heavy artillery here, so that we can start bombing this town. Got the second one coming up now. Infantry are on the move. Got a bunch of close range and long range units. So we've got the close range that can deal with house to house, and the Panssari, which can kind of sit back and shoot from a further distance. You see the heavy tank, the heavy artillery. As soon as I spot these guys though, I realise that I'm artillery in the wrong spot, and I quickly change. You can zoom in on this guy. See that aiming. Pretty long wait time. It is a heavy shell, 150mm. Actually, just follow this projectile. Okay, so we are moving in full swing now. These guys have come over from here to hold this forest, knocking out that MG. Tanks are quickly moving along as our infantry cleans up the Strelky. So we're taking these houses quite quickly, and now we're just going to move up into the forest. We did a bombing run with our heavy bomber, knocked out that MG. And before we go any further with our armour, we're just going to move up some infantry. And make sure there's nothing over here that can try to hit us. Notice these flat cannons back here, so I'm dropping some incendiary shells on them. We also spot a AT gun. And take it out before it can try to hit our tanks. Just about to take this flag before the time runs out, unfortunately. I think if we did take that flag, it would have put us at 18, which was, I think would have given us the major victory. So that was a bit unfortunate. But we did get 3,800 kills to 1,100 deaths. Allied did a massive number of nearly 5,000 to 3,500. But thanks for watching.